Well, the first question they ask me is, have you been drinking? And it's like, yeah, of course. It's a Sunday afternoon. I've been very fortunate that through my career, I've gotten to work overseas with some companies, working in Taiwan, running a manufacturing facility, but also in Europe, running international operations for Ridley Bikes. I had developed a strong friendship with the CEO, Joachim Ertz. One summer, my family came to visit me while I was there, and Joachim threw a little bit of a pool party for the families to get together. And his sons and my daughter and his brother's kids were all playing in the pool, having a good time. And like most Sunday afternoons in Belgium, on a sunny summer day, there were adult beverages that were consumed. And I think a little bit of discretion was lost, and we started kind of messing around. And at one point, Joachim wanted to throw me into the pool, but Joachim's about 6'1" and weighs about 200 pounds. And when I'm really heavy, I weigh about 162, and I'm about 5'10". He didn't know his own strength, and he took me and he, threw me, and I missed the pool. I landed on the other side of the pool on the coping, and I was just kind of holding my hand out, to block myself from slamming into it. And all I remember is kind of coming up from the water and my daughter being in the pool looking at me and her face just going completely white. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And then I looked down and my arm was hanging by my rib cage. He had completely dislocated my arm. I kind of walk my way over to the other side of the pool, and I kind of get out. I'm still completely dressed, and it's pretty obvious that this is just not going to pop back into the socket, and we've got to get over to the hospital. So somehow we get a combination of somebody kind of staying with my daughter and my wife going with Joachim's brother, and here we are in the kind of the backwaters of Belgium. It's not a major city. It's these smaller towns. Can't even go the direct way because there's some sort of festival or carnival going over. So we're on these back roads, and the car's bumping up and down, and my arm's going slamming into my rib cage, and really uncomfortable. And we pull up to this hospital. And you're used to hospitals in the United States. Everything's really well lit. There are lots of people. It's bustling. Pitch black. No lights on, no nothing. Walk in the front door, and then, kind of like out of, a science fiction thriller, lights kind of go flick, 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 and flicker on. And we walk up to the kind of the admissions counter, and a bunch of Flemish being spoken, which I never really picked up. And the next thing I know is, being wheeled up into emergency. My wife had gone back home to take care of my daughter, and I'm, going into surgery. And then I wake up in a recovery bed. My arm doesn't hurt anymore, but I'm laying there and I'm stark naked. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything. And I'm just like, you wake up and you go, where the hell am I? And okay, I'm in the hospital because I'm laying like this on my back. And I'm kind of like not fully conscious yet. And I kind of doze off. And then I wake up and there's this big old nurse, like Broomhilda, right? Mustache, the whole thing just huge. And I say, my family. She goes, no English. I'm like, oh God. And I said, my family, my friends, no friends. And at this point, I'm like, what the hell? I've spent years in Asia where I was always scared of getting hurt and going to the hospital. And here I am in Western Europe, and I'm in a hospital with a woman who can't even speak English, and I don't know where my family is, and I have no phone. I'm not going to say that I had a full-on panic attack, but it took some time to just kind of swallow and relax a little bit. My family was, when they were visiting me, we were using the company Sprinter van, which was a manual. I'm in the hospital. My wife has no way of communicating with me. She's with my daughter, and they have to get to where the party was, to the hospital. And so somehow my wife, through these back roads of Belgium, driving this huge Sprinter van with a manual transmission, managed to find the hospital in Giel, Belgium. She had a GPS, but they had to like plug it all in. It was crazy. All of a sudden, I kind of hear their voices coming down the hall. I can hear my wife and my daughter talking, and it was just so so relieved, to hear their voices. And they were hoping that they could take me home that night, and they weren't going to let me because the anesthesia was too, they wanted it to wear off more. I'm laying there all night, not really sleeping, just kind of staring at the ceiling, waiting for time to go by, not talking to anybody, nothing on TV. And I'm waiting for like that first light to come up, and hopefully that my family will come back to pick me up. And they do. And we kind of amble back to Belgium, and they were supposed to leave that day. So it was a Sunday afternoon. That Monday, they were supposed to fly out, but couldn't, and got me. And we all kind of went back to the hotel. Next morning, they went off to the airport, and I get into the Sprinter van to drive it to work, arm in a sling, manual transmission. And I walk up to the Sprinter van, and somebody had smashed the window and stolen the GPS. And so I'm just kind of sitting there, like arm in a sling, looking at it, and I'm just going, oh, God, really? And so I knew where the police station was in Hasselt. I'm, trying to get this Sprinter van with one hand and a manual transmission and trying to park it on these narrow streets and somehow get in and file a police report. And then I wind up going to work, and, that's not even the end of the story. The end of the story is about 3 months later, the police actually called me. They had found the GPS unit. And the reason they knew it was mine was they went in and they looked at the addresses, and they saw a whole bunch of American addresses in the GPS, and they called me, and we got it. So that's my story of how to dislocate your arm without falling off a bike in Belgium.